This is Viki Winterton, and I'm thrilled today because we have with us Tianna Conte-Dubs, ND. She is a psycho-spiritual therapist in energy medicine for decades now, and she's a trailblazing blend, a mystic, scientist, an international best-selling transformational author and film producer, and she's going to share with us some of the wonderful things about her new bestseller, Love's Fire, Living the Awakened Journey. Tianna, thanks so much for being with us.
Oh, thank you so much, Viki, for inviting me. This is so exciting to be with you.
Tianna, let's start by telling everyone that hasn't had the pleasure of meeting you yet a little bit about you and your background and what brought you to writing a book.
Well, this book really wrote itself through me, and as some people who picked up the book have already realized, I have the most authentic ghostwriter working with me, meaning my husband from beyond. As you mentioned, I'm a doctor, and my specialty is post-traumatic stress disorder and all sorts of stuff. I started hearing and feeling him, and I thought, okay, I'm a doctor, PTSD, grieving widow. And then friends of mine who are shamans and spiritual teachers said, Tianna, you have the gift of mediumship, and you're hearing and feeling him. And I'm like, oh, no, this can't be happening to me. And yet, it was happening to me. There is contact, and I was receiving it, and I was having a hard time accepting it. It's like when I made my vows with him into marriage, it was happily ever after, not happily from the hereafter. That's not what I had in mind. But it started to prove itself out, and the more I trusted it, as everybody encouraged me to do, the more I realized it was real. And it opened up a reality, both as a mystic and a scientist, I'd experienced, but not so intimately, not so personally, not with somebody that I loved more than life itself, practically. That's what started to happen. And through that grieving, the creative expression of the grief, because, as a therapist, I'm constantly saying, you need to express, and the issues are in your tissues, so you need to express. And so I was the poster child for grieving, and then it turned into, how can I bless others with this grief? And then it turned into a book. I never realized I was going to be writing a book, much less a book that would become an international bestseller through your awesome support. I'm still in awe of the whole journey. And that's a little bit about how this book came into form. So the three of us, myself, listening to William from Beyond, and Janet, who is the most amazing, whatever she's into regression therapy and consciousness research and all this, became like a sacred scribe. She could type as fast as I could speak, which, as you could tell, is quite a challenge. And a book emerged. And that's Love's Fire, Living the Awakened Journey.
That is so fantastic, really fantastic. So tell us a little bit about the writing of the book. What was that experience like for you?
That is such a juicy, delicious question. It had several layers, Viki. It first came through as a stream of consciousness. I would hear it, literally could, because I'm clairaudient. I could hear the words. I then would speak the words, and Janet would type the words, all at the same time. So, for lack of a better word, and I know you know me, so I can be a little naughty, it was almost orgasmic. It was flow, energy flow, and love, light. And it just came through. That was the first level. The second level was then when we started playing with the words, we realized that there was an energy to everything in the words. And so I would go through my emotional release at a cellular level while Janet held space. And then finally, the third level, we made sure to put in enough wisdom nuggets so it wasn't just Tianna's memoir, because I never even thought I was writing a book. I was just expressing a creative need that this was happening to me in a spiritual transmission form of way. And so then we made sure there were plenty of nuggets on the afterlife, on grieving, on the scientific proof behind it. I mean, including what are the odds, seriously, that I attract the world's leading afterlife authorities, both Dr. Raymond Moody and Dr. Mark Macy, to validate what I was experiencing? I didn't consciously set that up. It just unfolded. And with Mark especially, Illuminator, camera. And if there's someone in spirit guiding you, they show up in your face. Well, there was William. Half the face was mine. Half the face was his in this photo that is in the second book as best as possible. It's not photoshopped. It's kind of fuzzy, but you can see. On one, it's just me, and the other is literally a different facial structure, and I have a beard and a mustache. Now, Viki, you know me. I do not have a beard and a mustache, but I did in that picture.
Wow.
It was like one of these OMG moments where, it's one thing when you feel it, sense it, intuitively accept it and know it, but to see it in visual proof, like Confucius say, one picture was 1,000 words. Well, that's the one picture, and it's in there. And it's also become part of Mark Macy's, his book on spirit faces and teaching of twin soul love that anchored this message of love and life never die. Transformation is real. The body does drop off. The grief is real and painful for those left behind. But love and life never die. And that's the message of the book.
How beautiful is that? So tell us a little bit more about the content of the book and maybe the top tips that you hope readers will take away for their own selves.
Oh, absolutely. Well, my biggest tip, because so many psychics provide a myth, and I really respect psychics. However, they often say, don't grieve too much because you'll keep your loved ones attached to the earth and they need to move on. They miss, and as a therapist I can say this, that grief is one of the strongest fires of initiation people have to go through, especially when their heart's connected. And it is imperative that a person is allowed to grieve in their own unique way. Whether it's anger, whether it's constant tears, like I call myself the ocean of endless tears, that is one of the most important things because that grief, you don't want it to lodge in the cells and cause of the people left behind. That's one of my biggest tips. And in the book, my very first chapter, and some people have commented, did you have to make it so painful? It's called Humpty Dumpty. Now, don't you think that's aptly named for what I'm talking about? You're shattered. You're shattered. People are shattered with the death of those they love. And it's one thing when it's like an expected death, when somebody's elderly or really sick, but especially in those where it's, unexpected and out of nowhere, that is one of my biggest tips. Allow yourself to grieve. Now, if it becomes self-destructive, that is the only time intervention is required, whether it's psychiatric or grief support groups or whatever. But otherwise, trust your journey. Trust a support team. That's another tip. Have a support team of people who love and nurture you, that you can reach out, and that provide a safety net during the dark times that usually happen after the funeral is done and after the shock starts to wear off and after the aloneness of your normalcy, that mirror of identity that person represented is gone. So it's very sensitive time, and people need to know that and be there for the person. And then the third tip that I think is also important for the grieving person is platitudes are not welcome. I hate to say this, but I became the kamikaze shoot-down of platitudes. I know people meant well, but when they would say things like, I know what you're going through, hell no. You don't know what I'm going through. It's my body, it's my heart, it's my soul, it's my ripping. No. So to be mindful, the most important thing a grieving person needs is to have someone who knows how to listen and say something like, I'm here for you. Tell me what you need. So you know that you're important to them, that you're not alone, and that They're there for you to express. Those are the three key points, Viki, I would say, are contained in the very first chapter called Humpty Dumpty. However, after someone gets through that shocking, painful awareness chapter, it's called Leap of Faith, which is that's what it takes. That's another tip. Once you allow yourself to grieve and know that you have the right to grieve and you need to grieve, then it's about nurturing yourself, doing the things that nurture you, the person who's grieving and your loved one, to move through it. That could be conversations. Some people, it's their work. For me, it wasn't my work. How could I work with somebody when I give my all as someone who does energy medicine and listen to people deeply from the point of what are they saying and what are their selves hearing, when I was like listening to somebody and thinking, you think you have a problem? You should be in my skin. So that I couldn't work anymore. And I didn't have children to put my attention on. So for me, the way to nurture was to start to travel. And travel with the intention of going to places that had spiritual masters and teachers that could help me through the grief. So that's what Leap of Faith started for me. It was I consulted with mediums. William came through not only with me but through mediums. Just comical stories. I'm sure you've heard, and I'm sure people reading the book have heard of people getting one contact and wondering whether they should, embrace it and believe it or not. You read my book, oh, forget it. If you don't get the afterlife is real, then I hate to say this, somebody has to really be a skeptic, deaf, dumb, and blind, because I show them a picture, constant, intimate contacts that I've had that I can't even believe I was publicly sharing, and adventures, all for a greater picture and tips that we are awakening. Each person is ever-changing, ever-awakening. The planet is going through vibratory shifts that are awakening. And as you move through grief and rebirthing, you too will come into a greater evolution. I never, ever, ever had a clue where this journey was going to take me on. And that much less, as I said, that I was going to write a book about it. And that much less I want people to actually read it. It was just my form of releasing the grief. But what prompted the re-release of this book, and really coming to you and wanting it to go worldwide, which my conscious mind would have never done, but my intuitive spirit said, no, it's time, is because there's a bigger message. And the bigger message is that guidance is real. Deceased loved ones are contacting people all the time to let them know, A, they're okay. They're always okay. They're in the light. They're pure love, with pure love and compassion. And B, we're watching over you. So I really want people to know that they're watching over. And I did a lot of studies in going through my own grieving journey, including the great peer Edgar Cayce. And he gave, in one of the lectures, he wasn't there, was one of his relatives was teaching the course, gave a great message that I want to pass on. And that's when people really feel the really deep pain and the grief and the longing. Sometimes it's because the loved one is standing right there. So here's another myth I'm going to bust. And I'm busting all these myths for you, Viki, because I feel so open and intimate with how deeply your team supported this work. And that myth is that there's another side. There's no other side. If you want to say the other side of physical reality, I'll give you that. But when people share the other side, they think it's far, far away in a land, unseen. Well, it's really right there. It's other vibration. When one drops the body, that's the densest energy. So when the body's dropped, the vibration is higher. So they're with us. William, at times, because my vibration is high, and he even gave me the message, once you move through the dark times, I could work through you. I could embrace you, and you'll feel it. And it was like, are you kidding me? But it's all come to pass. So what Edgar Casey said, there were two things. There's when people feel sometimes their darkest moments, their loved ones are right by their side. And they just can't see them, can't hear them, can't feel them, but they're there. And the other is when people have dreams of deceased loved ones and they come out transformed, like feeling a shift. That's not a dream, because we just think we're sleeping. We're just multidimensional beings, and in that place, we are beyond time and space and physical form. It's contact. It's real contact. And in the book, I give stories of, where I attended William's birthday party without knowing it in spirit. And it was a real birthday party. My dad was there. William was there. My parents were there. A lot of loved ones were there. So I just bear my soul in trusting that it will help people through their pain and to know that they too can have contact, or at least they too are being watched over and they're not alone. And then for me, the crowning glory that I never, in my entire 40 years of practice, I'll date myself, Viki, 40 years. How can I say it? I've always wanted to empower people to empower themselves. To know that, because as a child I had the gift of clairvoyance and clairaudience, and I thought everybody did. And to access that guiding point. But to know that I could receive a actual program, an actual spiritual system that is feminine, heart and soul-based awakening of people's own innate guidance, their own deeper wisdom and superpowers. I love to call them superpowers, called the GPS code, that goes beyond the dream. That has tears in my eyes, because it's a simple 5-step system that takes people through where they're at, connecting with a higher power, like I do so easily, whether you call it God or whether you call it higher self, soul, it doesn't matter. We are all one and connected, and so it's whatever that spiritual source is for each person. Make that connection to express its problem and pain, and then go through steps that have the problem resolved in ways we can't even imagine. Because somebody told me this will be the end result when I made that plea to God, because I don't know, Viki, I think it was in the second book, or it definitely was in the first book, Love Fire Beyond Mortal Boundaries, that I described the kiss. I gave William CPR when he went into the light. He came back, puckered his lips, had his heart and his lungs back. I thought he was having an NDE like I had years ago. We were always playfully competing with each other. And instead, I leaned down to kiss him. I traveled with him into the light. I thought I was dying. I was in my 40s. But to go on the lips of your beloved, does it get any better than that? I dare say not. And then I see as he goes on, and I am literally sucked back into a broken heart and a grieving body. And I remember crying out to God, I don't know why you want this body. I don't know why, but I either want to die quickly or awaken my soul's blueprint. Little did I realize that I not only would awaken my soul's blueprint, and it's evident in these books and in this GPS code system, but the system is about other people awakening their soul's blueprint and navigating their problems and life challenges with grace and ease and guidance from beyond. And I couldn't make this up. Who writes this script?
Wow, this is so incredible. And do you find that he's also contacted you through people? I lost someone just 2 days ago, and before she passed, I had asked her to stay in touch with me. And it was so strange because I was not going to go to the store, and I decided to go to the store yesterday, and all of a sudden a woman came up, and she said, I just love you. And she gave me a big hug, and I had no idea who she was. And she said, I was your friend's caretaker part of the time. And she said, she just loved you. And I just felt it was a direct message, you know?
Viki, absolutely yes. Absolutely, absolutely yes. Your friend is watching over you. You even were wise enough and evolved enough. So I so applaud you to make that pact. I didn't even have that pact with William. I didn't know he was dying, and then I didn't know I'd be kicked out of the light, you know? But, yes, they come through with people. They come through in dreams. They come through in intimate moments where people will smell the perfume or the cigar or touch. And I'm going to confess something I never thought I'd say, but I'm going to say there was a time shortly after William passed away, and he came in a dream, and he told me that he couldn't be with me as much as he had been because he had other things to do. And I started saying, what the hell do you think you're doing? You can't be with me, now that I was accepting that he was. He said, but I'm sending you a dog to keep your heart open to fulfill your purpose. I'm thinking, a dog? Really? A dog is going to, are you kidding me? There's no way, blah, blah, blah. You can imagine my Italian nature, Viki, going on and on. Into my world comes Starsky, a little Shih Tzu. And one day, I'm holding Starsky, and he puts his hands on me and gives me a lick on the nose. And I thought, okay, now I'm really losing it. I feel like it was William's touch and William's, like, tongue. This can't be. This is completely, I'm not telling a living soul about this. I'm on a cruise where I'm a speaker on a cruise on the near-death experience and afterlife possibilities, and Janet's on that cruise too. And one of the world's leading mediums, Louise Hawk, was doing a session, and the door to the cruise just opens up to the class. And everybody said it was a wind from the sea and shut it. And then it blew open again, and everybody shut it. And it blew open a third time, and Louise said, that's not the wind. That's someone called Bill, or a.k.a. William, and he belongs to her. And she points to me, and she says, he's showing me an animal. Is it a bird? And I said, no, it's a Shih Tzu puppy. He said, well, he's saying that he's touched you as best he can in physical form through the dog. Now, Viki, put yourself in my seat. I mean, I was like in tears and laughing, and everybody was in tears and laughing. She validated. I never asked. So, yes, the message is trust your friend, especially with that pact. Oh, Viki, you're going to have one time. Maybe you and I can get on the phone whenever you have those experiences, because I love to hear about them and confirm them and share them, because they're subtle, they're significant, because our loved ones are with us. That's the key message. They're guiding us. They're loving us. They're sending us messages. Like in my book, I talk about the messages I received that I had no idea about that were guided for other people that William loved, like his mother, when she was going through challenges with her home and how to keep it. I had never heard this was in 1998 or 99. I'd never heard the word reverse mortgages. It wasn't even part of my world. But he said, tell Mom, get a reverse mortgage. That'll help her situation. And it did. So see, if people only trust what they receive. But that's why, in a way, the GPS code is so foundational, because it empowers people to trust themselves, trust their own intuitive and higher guidance with their own connection with their God source. And then, of course, they could easily, feel and contact their loved ones or know that it's real what they're experiencing.
That is just so amazing. So if you were to look at the work you're doing in the book, almost like a legacy, what would you like that to look like for the world?
That is a great, great question. It is a legacy. It's my legacy with William. Honor the message. Love and life never dies. And enjoy the ride. Stay connected with the people that you love. Telling them that you love them while they're physically alive. And that love carries. So you will actually know it to be so. And if anything, I wish and hold a vision for everyone Viki, of having an extraordinary life journey, meaning that extra is connected to source, connected to their higher power, connected to the infinite power that we truly are as beings of light and love and spiritual essences. That's our true nature. And then to have fearless dying, meaning complete with those that you love, with both the withhold and the more important, the appreciation, and to know you will continue, not in the form, but I'm going to be naughty. I call death the ultimate orgasm, because I've been in my life twice now or 3 times, and it's pure love, pure compassion. You dissolve all the illusions of separation, and you are one with light and love, because that's who we truly are. So when people use an affirmation or they think it's an affirmation, I am love, I am light, you are. And my wish and William's wish and our legacy is, as my childhood dream, a woman came from the stars. That's the feminine force. That's the awakening feminine that's needed to help humanity awaken and ascend today. And that force put something in my hand and said, this is something you're too young to understand, but one day you will. And it was like a ball of light. And I turned to light, a.k.a. raised my frequency and vibration. I put it in somebody else's hand, and they turned to light. And then the globe of the earth, which was dark, in a tipping zone, as each person turned to light, meaning you become the highest and best versions of yourself, making sure that your frequency on the planet is the highest form of love and light and integrity. That makes the greatest difference in a world that is awakening. That is the legacy William and I, through our love, through our loss, and through my rebirth, kicking and screaming, I didn't do it easily, kicking and screaming, would like to pass on. So we minimize the pain. And as I heard in my near-death experience that I talk about in my first book, pain, problems, challenges are an inevitable part of life. It's optional. The suffering comes through our perceptions that we fail to realize we are greater than this limited body, this limited brain. And that we have access to infinite resources of love and possibilities.
Oh, that is so beautiful. You know, I know our listeners are going to want to be in touch with you and learn more. Is there a website where they can go to connect?
I'm still putting it together, but spiritualitymadepractical.com is probably where they could hear more about me once I get it more fully functioning. But there's a tab there called Spirituality Made Practical, and I give everybody a complimentary video on how they can start their day in an empowered way, access their own source of consciousness and energy. And really, you know, and you've heard this, Viki, the more we start our day with a mindset of all possibilities and miracles, the greater the possibilities can be. And especially with all the road bumps we hit in daily living, this is a way to align with source, hear the body, mind, and stress, and also do that in the evening, and you watch. You'll have an extraordinary life journey. That's part of the legacy.
Tianna, thank you so much for being with us today. This has been so timely for me, number one, and so informative for everyone and just inspiring. So thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much, Viki. Again, it was a joy and pleasure, and I trust and I hold a vision for everyone that they find their true guidance and know that they're not alone, and it's been an honor to be able to share it.
Wonderful, wonderful. And for those of you out there who would like to learn more about Expert Insights, our best-selling books, our award-winning magazines, our global broadcasting communities, you can find us at mybookmybiz.com. That's MYBOOKMYBIZ.com. And everyone have a wonderful week.